people do not like to be turned down. When somebody comes to you and wants to patronize your business and you find that they are not a good fit for you for whatever reason, that's not a good feeling for them. They can take it personally. You have to ensure that you're firm, but you also have to be compassionate that people have feelings. This isn't necessarily just about the transaction of vetting a customer and a project. People don't like to be turned down. Oh, look at this. I'm recording. I didn't realize I was recording, but being that I am, let's get right to it. Welcome to another episode of the one and only Midweek Modern Craftsman podcast, blog, world renowned. Thanks everyone for spending whatever day of the week it is with you and hopping on here and listening to my ranting and raving and ramblings. Before we get going too far in this one, well, first off, the girls had dentist appointments this morning, which Rachel luckily took them to because I had a bunch of random stuff on my podcast, Modern Craftsman paperwork, consultation days, which are known as Tuesdays. But she came home with a nice Starbucks coffee for me, so I'm pretty pumped about that. I don't always. We usually make coffee at home. You probably have heard me talk about that before, but I do like Starbucks coffee. I'm not a huge Wawa or convenience store, or even Dunkin'. Small coffee shops can be hit or miss, but I do like Starbucks coffee. It's good. It's always consistent. Hits the spot. So thanks to Rach for grabbing me a coffee. She put her Starbucks app on my phone, so I see when she orders stuff, and I'm like, oh. When I'm at work, I get jealous, and then when I'm home, I'm like, she better come through the door with some coffee, and she did. So thanks, Rach. But to switch things up, I'm going to start off by thanking my partners and my sponsors, which are Andersen Windows. That's Andersen Windows, and Kuiken Brothers, which is Kuiken. They've graciously supported this podcast and helped me out, obviously, be able to set time aside for this. But more importantly, with Andersen, if you guys have not checked out their big doors, ever since COVID, people working from home, spending more time at home, really, I feel, valuing their home more so than previously, which I guess we're getting back to it, and people are spending a little bit less time. But I think that there's still a lot of value put on spending time at home and enjoying your home and enjoying outside of your home, and really bringing that outdoor space in. So I think that if you guys have a new build or a renovation coming up, you should check out some of their big doors. They are very impressive. I'm not going to get into specs or anything like that, but they have a multi-glide door, a lift slide door, pivot doors, folding out swing doors, bifold doors, the multi-slide door. There's a ton of these massive options to basically let that outside come inside your house. I guess you could let the inside of your house go outside as well, but they create these massive glass walls that obviously you have a view, but you can also access outdoor living space. So check them out at andersenwindows.com. That's Andersen windows.com. And also Kuiken Brothers. So obviously you should be casing those doors and windows in Kuiken Brothers moldings. That goes without saying. But what I wanted to touch on, have any of you guys, and I want you to be honest with me, but have any of you guys downloaded any of their molding design guides or anything like that? So if you go to their website, kuikenbrothers.com, Kuiken brothers.com, click on that molding link. Scroll down, they have molding catalogs, which you can order hard copies of, and you can also just download them online. They have the full line molding catalog, the classical molding catalog, the modern craftsman molding catalog. Excuse me here 1 second. That's why let's see. I still have my Wi-Fi on. Let me turn that off, make sure I don't lose you here for a second. So this area of my house, I don't have great internet, so I hardwire it in. Sometimes I forget to turn my Wi-Fi off, so it's still picking up Wi-Fi and bypassing the hard wiring. All right, so those molding catalogs, you can download them. I like having hard copies of them. You can bring them to the job, you can show customers, and then you can decide what samples you like. It's also really convenient for when you're ordering stuff to be able to pull the molding up, the line drawing, the CAD drawing, see what the model number is, and then order appropriately. But check them out. Again, you can download them for free. You can order them, they'll ship them to you. They ship their moldings nationwide. Really, really high quality moldings. I primarily use their classical collection in the older homes that I work in, but I really like the pre-primed poplar. It's a much better product than a lot of other competitors who really only offer pre-primed as far as wood goes pine moldings, and I just don't find them to be very stable. So make sure that you check them out. Make sure that you patronize these businesses. I really appreciate them supporting me. I love everyone who I deal with at Andersen. I love everyone who I deal with at Kuiken Brothers. Obviously, I have an ongoing and long-standing relationship with Ryan over there, who's been there for quite a long time. That's my connection. um, but he set me up with great salesmen who have been there, who always help me out. Very prompt, always take care of anything and everything that I need, and that's most important for me with a vendor. Great products are important. They have great products, but the service is really what separates most vendors from others. So check out kuikenbrothers.com, check out andersenwindows.com, and thanks to them for sponsoring this podcast. And thanks to you guys for listening to this podcast. Um, Back to our regularly scheduled program of blog post podcasts. You guys check out moderncraftsman.co. We have those pencils up for sale. They turned out really, really cool. Again, Musgrave made them, Slash designed them for us, designed all the packaging. Just a really cool thing that we did. Everyone's getting their t-shirts. I think so far, um, almost all of them have been mailed out. We did a limited run. We were speaking recently about what the next run will look like. So if you guys have any suggestions, you want anything specific, a type of shirt, a sweatshirt, let us know. If you have any concerns with the shirts that you've received, let us know. I have my hands on a few. Finally, I got them when I was up in Boston a couple weeks ago. I handed some out to friends, some family. I'm pumped with them. The quality is great. They're super comfy. They show the guns off, even though I don't have guns. But yeah, thanks to everyone involved in making that happen. And thanks to all of you guys and girls for purchasing them. So let's get to the podcast this week. What's it on? Oh, it's another listener question. Here we go. So, digging through my notes, I'm not sure when this email or DM came in, but it says longtime listener, first time caller. It wasn't a call, but wanted to reach out and see if you would discuss your client vetting process a little bit. I know that there have been several contractor client relationship topics discussed regarding budget, timelines, communications, etc. But I'm very interested in better understanding how we can weed out bad clients on the front end. Um, so I have to start off by admitting that while I do my best to vet customers and designers prior to really engaging with them too heavily, they do slip through the cracks. Truth be told, I'm dealing with that right now, not on the client end, but I feel as though I was duped with caliber of what was handed to me, passed off to me, and there were a lot of issues that I foresaw up front that I just figured would get taken care of. It would work itself out. I put too much trust in design, and getting to the end of the job, I'm a bit frustrated with it. And truth be told, I didn't do my due diligence when somebody approached me and the job was passed on my plate. I did not vet everyone I would be working with heavily enough. I was fooled, and I trusted that it was legitimate and that everything was in order and everything would be every I would be dotted, every T would be crossed, and that's just not the case. So while I do my best to vet clients and designers and architects and everything else, they get passed, and a, um, it's a reminder that you can never let your guard down, that you have to stick to your guns, that you can't deviate from your process. Had I not deviated from my process and um, really vetted this design as I do with every project when I'm responsible for design, I think, and there's a lot of things that I picked up on, but I just assumed they would be taken care of. They were passed on. That my concerns were communicated, and they're really the fixes that I feel should have been done were not done. And it was more band aids than fixes, and that's just not how I work. That's not how I want to work. My name's on every project that I do, so it's a reminder that I can't let my guard down. I can't deviate from my process. If this is what I want to be doing, this is the type of work that I want to be doing, and there's lessons to be learned and takeaways from this. So that's first and foremost. The second thing that I want to touch on is this is a slippery slope. You're walking a fine line when you are vetting customers. Um, to put this bluntly, people do not like to be turned down. They don't like um, when somebody comes to you and wants to patronize your business and you find that they are not a good fit for you for whatever reason, that's not a good feeling for them. They can take it personally. So you have to ensure that you are compassionate throughout this process. You have to ensure that you're firm, but you also have to be compassionate that people have feelings. And this isn't necessarily just about the transaction of vetting a customer and a project. Um, people people don't like to be turned down. You can think about when somebody breaks up with somebody else, or if you ask a girl out and they say no, that's not a good feeling. And the same can be said for turning a customer or a client down. I've had customers who I didn't do this as gently as gingerly as I should have, and they responded angrily to me, and that they'll take their money elsewhere, and that to think that their money's not good to me, and that they're glad they didn't go down this path further with me and find out who I really was. And I realized in hindsight that I probably could have responded more delicately, less transactionally, less business wise, less black and gray, and just been a little more delicate and ginger with how I delivered, um, me essentially turning these clients and these customers and these leads down. So that's another thing to consider here is your business and your reputation is not just the jobs. Oh, what happened to my headset? The jobs and the projects that you do. It's also the projects and the jobs that you don't do. So you have to ensure that customers walk away from this experience and from you, um, with kind thoughts, fair thoughts, and a just a pleasant interaction with your company, even if you are saying no to them. Um, so let's see where I want to start this. Um, Again, you have to. The first thing for me is to develop this process in the system. Every lead, whether from a designer, an architect, a neighbor, whatever your process is, it has to be the same for every lead. You, if it's, and I've done this before, right? It's an architect, it's a designer that I really want to work with, and I let my guard down and I don't vet the lead the same way, and that's when it comes back to bite me, and I feel as though I'm experiencing that right now. So you have to understand that every lead has to go through the same process regardless of how that's coming across your plate. So if that's a phone call first, if that's an insight meeting first, if it is sending them to your website first, if it's an email first, whatever is the best fit for you, you have to stick to that. So for me, whether somebody texts me, They call me, they write me a letter, they approach me in person. The first thing for me to do is say, "Can you shoot me an email? Here's my email address, and just give me a basic briefing of who you are, how you get a hold of me." That's the first of the vetting process. One, I like to move my communication to email for multiple reasons. One, I feel that it's a little easier to ask the tougher questions to people. They don't clam up. They have time to think about it. Um, it's a little easier to ask those difficult questions for them to respond. It also just is one hoop to jump through where they have to um, do a little legwork, right? If a customer is not willing, if I say, "Hey, shoot me an email," and they're like, "This guy, I came to him with my money and he wants me to shoot him an email, I'm just going to go elsewhere." Well, then they didn't want me to do the work. They just wanted me to get them a price, right? What I do is not important enough to them that they're not willing to shoot an email. So that's the first of my vetting process. So that's one hoop, one check, one box ticked, if they are able to do that. So once they email me and they say, "Hey, I ran into you here," or, "Hey, you told me to shoot me an email," then I decide to walk them through my process. And there's two different paths that I take. If I'm really looking to somewhat court them, I have a pretty succinct email where I'm just asking specific questions that are going to elude responses that really tell me if this is a qualified lead and really help me gauge this lead. There's also one that I feel I don't think it's a high quality lead in the first place, and I don't necessarily want to court them. I just want to say, "Hey, this is how I work. Most people don't want to work this way. Let me know if this is good and we'll get into the next step." So the process in which I want to court a customer a little more and not just lay down the rules right out front is is essentially, "Hey, thank you for reaching out. Can you provide me a little more information regarding your project?" And then I ask a handful of questions. I say, "What's your timeline for getting the work completed?" So this if a customer wants something done in 3 months, 6 months, depending on the project, I know what my schedule looks like. I know my turnaround, I know my backlog, so I can vet this customer right off the bat. If it's somebody I really want to work with, maybe I can have a discussion about schedule and how it's if they're willing to wait, this is where we are, if I could move some things around. But really this is to vet customers as far as unrealistic or realistic timelines. It may be the best job lead in the world. They want something started in 6 weeks. I could never do that regardless of the scope of the project. So I know that even if it's the best lead, the lead that I've wanted, that I would have to switch my business model and put people in place that are not necessarily the product that I want to put out. It's not TRG product because now I'm changing my business to fit this schedule and this program of somebody else. So that's not what they hired me for. That's not all the projects that they've seen that I've put out. That's not my system. Maybe I get there one day, maybe my business changed. That's how I operate, but right now that is not. So I just want to vet them right off the bat and say, "Hey, I can't get to you in 3 months. I can't get to you in 6 months. I'm 12 to 18 months out." I've also learned that if somebody's willing to wait 12 to 18 months, maybe it takes less than that. But if they say yes to that, it proves to me that, yeah, we want to work with him. We're willing to wait. They're willing to pay. So that's question number one. I also asked them if they can send me some photos of the existing space. At this point, I don't need to go to their house. I don't want to go to their house. I don't want to spend my time, my energy. It's just too soon at this point. So even if they ask, I say at this point, I don't need to make a site visit. If you're uncomfortable with that, I understand, but this is how I approach leads. And again, if they're not willing to work the way that I work, this is my business. This is the way that I've established my business. This is what works for me. This is what creates the product that I want to be building. And they're not that doesn't fit their program, then I know that they're not a good fit for me. So I asked for these photos of the existing space, and this is why it helps me understand the scope of this project. It helps me see their home. It allows me to see a space of their home, how they design, what's important to them, what the scope of the work is. I can get a verbal scope or a text-based scope of work, but seeing the space in person and really them focusing on what's important to them and advocating for what their needs are, these photos are super helpful with me not being on the site. Also, it's another hoop to jump through. If somebody is not willing to take the time to take the photos and then put them on an email and say, I don't want them texted to me, I want them emailed to me. So if they're not willing to do that or they do not follow directions, if I say, "Hey, can you attach some photos to this email?" and they text them to me, they don't follow directions. So, is that going to be indicative of the relationship that we have when I get in bed with them and work a project with them? Maybe, maybe not. But if that was the easiest way for them to send me the photos, so that's just the route that they took, maybe that's not the customer I want to work with. Um, if they're just not willing to do that, oh, I can't make time for this. Can't you just come over and see them? Well, then again, how serious are they about working with me? If there's somebody I wanted to get tattooed by and they said, "Hey, can you send me pictures of this part of your body, some inspirational photos?" If I wanted to get tattooed by them, and it was a priority for me, I would go and I would take the pictures and I'd send the information that they requested immediately because that's what I wanted. If if it wasn't somebody that I really loved their tattoos and I just wanted to get tattooed and it wasn't like it didn't really matter who did it and one person was like, "Yeah, you can come in and walk right in and we'll do it," or somebody else asked me to do all this legwork and I didn't really care who did it, I'd probably go to the person who's going to be less work for me, but that's not my customer. That's not who I want to be working for. So it's another step in the vetting process for me. I also asked them, "Have you engaged a service of any designers or architects?" This for me gauges how serious this lead is. The first step for any project for me is to have a design in place, a conceptual, a bid set, whatever it may be. If they have not entertained design, I don't feel that they are that serious about the project, or maybe they just don't understand how to approach a project. So this can also be an opportunity for me to get a foot in the door here and say, "Hey, we work with design professionals, we work with architects, we also handle certain aspects of design in-house. We can help you with that, but we can't do much until we get that design in place." And then that opens the door for me to start really explaining our process and how we work and how it's going to be more of a design build, even on a small project, and that we're establishing budgeting, and then it's going to be, for lack of a better term, time and material working towards that. But I can get into how I work from there and it opens that conversation. But if they have not engaged a designer, it either tells me, one, that they're not that far along in the process, two, they haven't done their homework, three, they don't understand how this works, and I can be the person that helps take their hand and lead them through this process. But I have to make sure that their what their expectations are match what I want to be doing. And there's a few more questions and steps that they need to go through to understand if we're a good fit or not. But this can be a door that's opening for me to kind of slide a foot in there. Um, I also ask for inspirational photos. So this opens up the door to the conversation regarding budget. It also allows me to see what their style is, if it's something that I want to be doing. If somebody sends me like a super rustic barnwood project, probably not me. Super modern, probably not me. If it's more traditional or transitional, okay, yeah, they're a good fit. This is the type of work that I do. I enjoy doing. This is where I make my money. This is up my alley. They're a fit. It also allows me to begin that budgeting conversation where I'm like, "Hey, you sent me a handful of kitchens. They're all $150,000 and up kitchens. Is this what you were thinking in your space?" And they're like, "Yeah, we figured that's at least where we'd be." Okay, cool. Let's move forward. No, we were thinking of like 60, $75,000 tops. Okay, well, I'm not able to make money in that ballpark range just because of how much work we put into it. That's not to say that that's not a fair budget and that somebody would not be absolutely thrilled to do a kitchen for that, but that's not my sweet spot. That's not my realm. That's not my capacity. So I either send them elsewhere or they say, "Hey, is that budget unrealistic?" And I can start that conversation where it's like, "Hey, what you sent me is not $75,000. So if you're not willing to budge from that, maybe we should part ways. Or if you are willing to say, hey, yeah, we can up the budget, we can see what we can do, but it's an indicator of how much they need to spend. And it helps me begin that conversation around budget without just saying, how much do you want to spend? I can say, hey, this is a $200,000 kitchen in my experience. For me to do that type of, you have you have 50, $60,000 in cabinetry. If that's a third or a quarter of your budget, you could be at 180,000, you could be at $240,000 for this kitchen, and that could be way above what they want to spend, and it helps me qualify these leads. I also ask these leads for an address. Send me where you live. Where's this project? If you're buying a house, send me the Zillow for it. I want to look up what the house costs, what it's valued at, to see what their equity in the house could be. Are they going to be borrowing money for this? Can they pull equity from the home? Um, is the house just way under budget for the type of work that I do? There's a chance that somebody who lives in a three, four, $500,000 house might spend $150,000, $200,000 on a kitchen, but more likely than not, that's not a smart investment on their behalf. So I understand that I have a better chance of landing a job or selling a job to somebody who lives in $1 million and up because, yeah, they're willing to spend $250,000 on a kitchen. The chances of me, it's just a higher quality lead. The percentage is higher. So I can only do a handful of jobs in a year. My time is better spent chasing those leads. So I'm not judging somebody on the taxes they pay. I'm not judging somebody on the equity of their home, what they bought their home for, what it's valued at now, how many square feet it is, what their Zillow listing looks like. I'm not judging anyone on that. I'm using this as a tool to help me indicate whether this lead is a higher chance or a lower chance of them hiring me. I can determine that pretty quickly, and there are exceptions to every rule, but I'm looking for the higher percentage lead. So if I have 10 leads and I only need 3 jobs, 4 jobs, say I have 20 leads and I only need 4 jobs a year, do I want to focus on all 20 of those leads, or do I want to dwindle? No, what word am I thinking of? Whittle. That's the word I was thinking of. Do I want to whittle that down to 7 or 8 leads and really focus on them and get my 4 jobs out of those, then spend all of this time entertaining 20 leads? I want to whittle that number down. I want to court the least amount of leads that will generate the highest quality and the highest percentage of capturing that project. That's just how I work. That's how I want to spend my time. I don't want to be going on estimates after work anymore. I don't want to be going to every customer's house that calls me or engages me for a lead. That again, that's just how I work. So I'd rather take those 20 leads and find the best 8 and then spend my time on those 8 rather than on the 20. There might be a job that I'm throwing out in those 12 that I basically forfeited or turned down. There may be a job or 2 or 3 that I pass on in there that may not, it may have been a lead. It may have been a quality lead, but again, the chances are more likely than not, and the percentage is higher, whittling that down to 8 really hard qualified leads, and that's where I want to spend my time. There's exceptions to every rule, but I'm playing percentages, and I'm using all of these tools to generate the highest quality lead. The next question I ask is, how did you hear about my company? This is really, 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 really important to me. I've found that my customer is a customer who wants TRG to do the work. Again, there's customers who just by chance may hire me. But for most of my leads and most of my successful projects, the expectation is set when they get a hold of me because they want me to do the work. They've either seen my work in person, they've followed me for 5 years on social. Their neighbor got a kitchen done by me, and it was in an area where they have the financial means to hire me. Um, Generally speaking, if somebody is looking to get 3 leads, they're going and they're just getting. They don't know me personally. They don't know my business. Maybe they saw my name on a Facebook page. They looked up my Google reviews. It was good enough for them, but they don't understand me. They don't understand my ethos. They don't understand my business. They have not followed me. They do not know TRG enough to say, this is who I need to do this work. So my leads and how these people heard about me is a really telling indicator of if this is a quality lead or not, because most of my successful projects come from somebody who's not looking at other contractors. They've had bad experiences. They've seen my work in person. They've followed my path. They've read my articles online. They want the TRG experience, and that's my customer. So this question helps really hone down that lead to people who know who I am. They know everything that I stand for, and that's what they want. It's not just that um, my cousin saw you on a Facebook page and knew that I lived in this area and told me that I should call you. That I may get that project just by chance, but I have a better percentage of landing a project who said somebody calls me and say, "Hey, you did so and so's kitchen. They're my neighbor. We spent countless Friday evenings in there. We absolutely love it. The quality is amazing. 5 years later, everything's holding up. Um, they had nothing but great things to say about you and your process. They explained how you work. We love it. We're in. We want to hire you. Tell us what the next step is." That's my lead. That's my customer. They could still be shitty customers, but the chances are better with that customer than with other customers. So that's my first email. That's when I'm really looking to court that customer. When I have a lead come in that I don't feel is a good fit for whatever reason right off the bat, I like to just lay it all out there rather than play the game of asking questions and beginning to court them and figure out who they are and get to my answers somewhat indirectly. I like to lay it all out there and just see what their reaction is. So this is my second email response depending on the lead. Um, Thanks so much for reaching out. To be as transparent as possible and briefly explain how we approach our projects. Our system is based on a design build cost plus model where we're hired to design and complete the job based around preliminary budgeting. I want to ensure our customers understand that and that they are comfortable with this structure. Many people prefer to put a project out to bid. So I'm just laying that out there. If you are looking to put a project out to bid, I'm not your guy. Um, I've afforded myself that luxury by remaining lean, but I'm just putting that out there. A lot of people want to bid a project out. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that. That's the way that our industry has been for a really long time. I just don't want to do that. So I'm putting that out there immediately that this is how I work. I don't bid projects. So if that's not good for you, we're not going to be a fit. I can't entertain this lead. So I put that out. It's a turnoff to most customers, most leads. They want to be bidding a project. I'm not trying to be a dick. I have to be compassionate. I have to be soft when I deliver this. But truth be told, I don't want to bid a project. So I'm not going to lead a customer down a path that may allude to me bidding a project and getting them pricing for free when I don't want to do that. I'm just going to cut the tie off immediately. Um, the next paragraph. Given the small scale nature of our company and our quality over quantity approach, we no longer look to competitively bid projects. In my experience, the structure of our company affords us a process, product, and level of execution that other contractors either cannot hit or do not have the patience to hit. That being said, I do not believe bidding projects is necessarily apples to apples for us. Again, I have to be careful that I don't come off as arrogant, and I'm not intending to come off as arrogant. I've done this for long enough and I've seen enough of other people's work, and I've hired people to work for me, whether they're labor, employees, subcontractors, that when I see their work, I'm disappointed in it from my standard. And that's not to say that it's not a standard that's acceptable throughout the industry, but it's just not what I am happy with. And that this is my business. This is the work that I want to be doing. This is everything that I stand for. So if it's not okay with me, I don't want to sell that. I don't want to run a business that way. I want to be enthusiastic about what I do. I want to be passionate about what I do. And in order to do that, I have to deliver the quality and the expectation and the project that I'm comfortable doing. So I'm laying that out there. I'm outlining this for potential customers, and again reiterating that I'm not going to competitively bid a project, and that I'm looking to create a really high quality project that most other guys and girls either cannot do or just aren't willing to do, or they subcontract stuff out, and the management that it would cost to do this would just be too high. So I'm outlining this, but I have to be careful that I'm not coming off as arrogant, because again, when people are turned down, they're not happy. So you don't want to turn these people down or turn these people away and reject these people and come off as being a pompous, arrogant asshole while doing so. Because even if you don't work for them, they're gonna be like, I reached out to TRG, and he basically is like, our money's no good to you, or no good to him, and said that like he wasn't willing to work with us. That may be the case, but you have to be careful with how you deliver this. So again, this is why this email is only going to people that I feel aren't a really high quality lead, and that I'm not really looking to engage them that much. I'm trying to deliver them all of these cues that are turnoffs for them to be like, nope, this isn't our guy. So that's what I'm almost looking to. It's not you, it's me type of thing, right? Where you're trying to break up with a girl and you feel badly about it, and you're like, yo, listen, you were wonderful, you were great, you were fun, you were so kind, I love your family. Like, it has nothing to do with you. It's me. It's me. Like, that's what I'm trying to do here, um, with this. And I'm looking to kind of put the ball in their court and absolve myself some of that responsibility by being like, this is who I am. I can't change that. It's me. It's me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, the the biggest point is, if you're looking to get 2 to 3 prices, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to do that. So now that we have that out of the way, I'd love to hear more about your project. I'd also love to get some photos of the space if you're able to provide them, and then I go into that same question list that I had in the previous email. Um, I might just directly ask about budget in this one, because I've somewhat outlined a lot of other things. And so I'm not going to get into those questions again. It's the same thing, but I'm really, the point of this email is to say, hey, this is who I am. This is why I do the work that I do, and this is why I don't competitively bid projects. If you're comfortable with this, right? So I say sorting out the answers to the above questions helps to ensure that we're on the same page as far as scope, price, and the level of services that we offer. If you're unsure of anything, have no idea what your project may cost, or have any other question, please reach out. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you. So I'm summarizing everything in the email to say the reason that I'm asking all of this, and the reason that I have the qualifications, that qualifiers that I'm putting out there, is to ensure that I'm a good fit for you, that I'm the contractor that you deserve, that you're going to get the project that you deserve, whether that's based on level of execution, timeline, design, budget. I want to make sure that we are a fit and we are a match. And if we aren't, let's just cut ties at this point, and we'll figure out either somebody else who can. What is going on with my microphone here? Okay, there we go. Either somebody else that can fit your program better, or just like cut ties so that you're not wasting time and I'm not wasting time. Again, I can only do a handful of projects a year. If they're big jobs, I could do 2 jobs a year and then fill in with smaller work, right? My job now I'm on is going to end up being 5, 6 months. I could do 2 jobs a year. So how many leads do I need to entertain? Um, so it doesn't make sense for me to string customers along who want something done for less than I can do it for sooner than I can get to it, or that they just aren't willing to work within the constraints of how I work and how I operate. Because again, I'm able to execute the way that I'm able to execute and manage the way that I'm able to manage because of every single aspect of my business, and that begins now at the pre-qualification stage. And if they're not a fit now, they're not going to be a fit during the project. So that's what I'm looking to alleviate, and I'm looking to resolve up front. Hopefully, this answers your question. If there's more specifics that you need, I'd be interested to hear how you guys are doing this as well. Again, these are my two responses to people getting a hold of me, but I'm usually sending them to the computer so that I can sit down. They can digest this. They can get me the answers I need. They don't have to feel ashamed about their answers to the questions. They don't feel as though they have to lie because they're speaking to somebody face to face. To me, I get a more accurate assessment, and I can better gauge the customer sending it this way. Maybe other people feel that that's more accurate on the phone. I just don't over the years. It also buys me some time where it's like I'm in the office every Tuesday. I'll get to your email Tuesday. So it buys me some time. I have the bags on for me to take every phone call. Excuse me. For me to take every phone call that comes across my plate um, during the day while I'm trying to work is difficult. So it's easier for me to sit down and go through these emails when I'm in the office, and while I'm not taking every call that comes in every 15 minutes on the phone. So that's the way that I operate. That's the way that I work. Hopefully, this answered your question. Thank you guys and girls, as always, for everything. Um, Circle back with me if you have any questions. I'm still doing consulting calls on Tuesday. Usually I'm booking 1 to 2 weeks out for them. I try and only do one per week, maybe two per week. Two per week is a stretch. It's tough. So a lot of times I'm only doing one per week. So usually I'm booking maybe 1 to 3 weeks in advance. So it's first come, first serve. You can shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. We can discuss my rates, how I set that all up. It's through Square, so I can send you an invoice, a calendar invite. We can figure out a time that works for you to hop on a phone call. We can discuss my hourly rate for them. So if you have any questions, you want to speak in person, you want to set up a call, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. We can get you scheduled for a Tuesday, most likely within the next month, to hop on a phone call and discuss life, business, whatever it may be that you have questions about. You can get an hour of my time. So that's it for this week. Thanks as always. Go buy some pencils. moderncraftsman.co. Thank you.